Bingo introduces Live Football Bingo, where events in every English Premier League game can win you prizes for a £1 card. And the fastest full house of the season is worth £20,000. Head to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Get yourself over to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to Wednesday, 24th of May's Talking Town. I'm your host, The Gov. This is the fan platform for fans, by fans of the greatest football team on God's green earth. And as I say every week, we can't do this show without you. So please do get involved, whether you're watching us live or on catch up. Leave a comment in the comment section if you're watching on catch up. And if you're watching us live, well, good evening to you. Live chat box. I'll try and drop a link as we go throughout the course of the show. Get involved. Have your say on your platform. Unfiltered and live. A few of you already piling into the live chat box. Gotta love that. And I was smiling as we entered today's show because I heard our intro music on a TV advert the other day, and I was like, oh, nice. I've got some good taste in music then if someone else is using it for a national TV campaign. So for all those that tell me I've got no taste in music, shame on you. Shame on you. Anyway, hit the like, subscribe. We're counting down to the end of the season with Talking Town, and then we'll just sort of roll it over and start a new season. But for those keeping track at home, tonight was probably the first show I've done. I don't want to say all season, but we'll go ahead and say all season anyway, where I started on time. Bang on, 8 o'clock. So proud of myself. It's only taken a whole season, but we're finally getting there. Anyway, good evening, Mike Baker. Hope you're well. Being Frank is here. Phil Blundell's in the room. He also says, how are we doing, Frank? Listened to you for years on Radio Suffolk. It's great to have Frank as part of the TT community. It really is. I hope you're all well. Anthony Steele's here. Max Fax, good morning from Melbourne. Good morning, Max. I hope you're well. Have a fantastic day. Attack it, my friend. Attack it, attack it, attack it. What manager was that? Attack. Can't remember. Drop it in the comment section. Phil Blundell, less than 30 days away before the new fixtures are released, which means it's less than 30 days until I'm on a beach in Cos. And Rich is sat here doing the fixture release date video. Sometimes I win in life and sometimes I lose. I feel that's a win in life. Graham's here. Everyone's piling in. Absolutely love to see it. We've got a few topics to get through before we get to the 999 central midfield players and what we do about them. But joining me this evening, as he did last week, this is part 3 of our squad review. Part 2 was Sunday, Hard Truth, reviewing what we did the week in part 1 and then giving us a couple of transfer options and how they felt they'd improve the back line, etc. But this is part 3. He joined me in part 1. It is, of course, the designer, George Nunn.
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, how are you?
I am very well. I'm surprised you said you're okay because you made a triumphant comeback to...
Do you know what? I thought if Keogh can keep playing bugger it after a 7-year absence, I could come back and have a kick around with some people literally half my age. And was I wrong?
Well, I texted you this morning saying how you feeling, how are the hamstrings, and you just said to me before we went live, you were feeling rather cocky this morning. You woke up feeling good, feeling fine. Obviously, adrenaline takes a while to wear off in your system, clearly. But yes, for those at home that don't know, George Nunn made his return to the football arena last night after 7 years away from the sport. And of course, as we're podcasters, as we sit and we review players week in and week out, I thought it's only fair that we asked you, Mr. George Nunn, as a podcaster, to review your own performance last night. What were your thoughts on George last night?
I was heavily stat padding. This is going to come up again tonight, but I was definitely stat padding. I would say I probably had a 70%, maybe 75% pass completion rate, and most of them went 7 feet.
Okay, so you did the Lambert approach to football.
I was very conscious that I was playing with a bunch of people I'd never met. Most of them were half my age. I hadn't played for a long time. I'm very old, very unfit. So I played to my strengths.
Which was short 4 or 5 yard passes. John Nolan built a career off that, George, to be fair to you. So, you know, there's hope yet. And of course, the big metric in football these days is the running metric.
Yeah.
What do you think your running chart would have been last night, George?
I think it would have been, I think I probably would have been pleasantly surprised in myself. Do you know what? I bought my son for Christmas. I bought him one of those vests.
Which I love, by the way.
That's sport vestings. Because I thought it'd be nice for us to, you know, have conversations about his performance every week, and
for sure
try and get him into. And last night on the way home, because I've been playing with my neighbours, the guy that's got me into it, and I said, when I feel a little bit more comfortable with all these chaps that I've never met before, I'm going to sling it on. And
oh, please do. We can review it on the show every week. It'll be a new feature, the Nunny stat pad feature. That'd be awesome. I'd be all over that as he's frozen on my screen. I hope he's not frozen for long, because it's going to be a lonely show if he has. You've come back. You're okay. You've come back. We'll soldier on.
Yeah, if I go, that might be the end of it. But yeah, you carry on.
Yeah, but please do. If you do, I'd love to see it. We could do some slideshows, PowerPoint presentations. Last week you did this much movement. I've got so much fun buzzing around in my head right now. $9.99 super chat from Mr. Mike Baker. Appreciate you, Mike. Thanks ever so much. Day 2 of chemo for Ben. Ben, we're all with you from Talking Town. We're all behind you. We support you. I'm just gonna drop George out of the screen until he can wave to me and say he's back. If not, I'll be dropping a link, and the first person to click that link will be a new contributor on Talking Town this evening. How exciting for you all. Sean, the Gov was early. I was late, so I missed you. Well, there you go, Sean. You see, snooze. You finally lose in this game, my friend, because finally the Gov is on time. But yes, as Sharon says, Ben, you're doing brilliant, and we're all right behind you. I'm going to drop a link because it is a lonely old gig up here. If you do want to just jump in while George sorts himself out, please do. But until George either returns or somebody comes to my rescue, don't forget you can become a Talking Town 5th stander. Hit the join button on YouTube or head to Ko-Fi, link in the description, link in the chat, and support the platform for as little as $4.99 a month. I think it's fantastic value personally. I think I'm worth much more than that. But yeah, if you can do, please do so. You can cancel at any time. And and those that support us, and Phil Blundell, who has just appeared as my knight in shining armor, is one of those people that supports us. And you truly keep the platform going, and you help us build us from strength to strength. You allow us to send Rich to the PFA Fan Awards yesterday evening. So yeah, thanks to the wonderful people like yourself. So if you do, if you can, if you will, please consider it. Phil, thank you for saving me until George reappears. How are you, my man?
I'm good, thanks. How long have I got?
God knows, but let's crack into it. There's a couple of news item bits I want to get through. The foundation announcing a new partnership with Suffolk New College, which just sounds fantastic on the basis. Let me just read this to you, right? It says, the foundation would like to announce a new partnership with Suffolk New College, an agreement that will see Suffolk New College provide education to the foundation's post-16 football and education students, right? Get this. The students will have the advantage of being included in the training and games program and is open to people in the business and sports courses. These kids don't know they're born, Phil.
No, they don't.
10 years ago, when I was doing the business degree, I'd have bloody loved that.
So would I, mate. I think we're a bit longer in the tooth than you, so would have liked that maybe 15, 20 years ago, perhaps.
Well, mine's more like 15. I was being kind to myself, Phil. I was being kind. But as we're being deadly honest with each other, my daughter's 15 this year, so yes, it would be about 16 years. Fuck, I'm getting old by the minute here. Phil, you're aging me now. Now I wish you hadn't come on now, Phil. Like, do you know what I mean? But listen, it's a great partnership. It's good to see the foundation doing bits and pieces like this in the community, isn't it?
It is. It's wonderful, and it's really the only educational centre in the town apart from the university. But still good enough. Still good enough. Those youngsters, absolutely spoiled for choice.
Yeah, No, absolutely, and as I say, they don't know they're born, and I would have loved that personally, doing it. And Zurich says something new. Use goals. Does goals? Yes, goals still exist. I drove past it the other day. Again, another fantastic benefit that we never had as students. But I just thought it was good to highlight the foundation, doing bits and pieces, and keeping that buzz going around the town. Talking about buzz, Sam Parkin. Not the greatest player at Town when he was here. Good player in his day, but not the greatest. He reckons Town are going to do really well next year. Could see a top 6 finish. Is he on the money? Is he?
I'll tell you what, I'm certainly not going to disagree with that. If a football pundit comes out and says that we're going to do very well
he
next
believes
season,
Town could challenge for promotion, I think, is what I read somewhere. Not quite sure he said top 6, but could challenge for promotion. Do you see that? Do you see Town currently, without the additions, or even with some additions, doing that challenge for the top 6?
Yeah, I'm going to say, coming off the back end of this season, we've certainly got the momentum, and you'd like to think with just a few additions, 3 or 4 quality signings, that I think it's absolutely possible that we could mount a credible promotion challenge this coming season.
Paul Smith says here, one of the best deals we could do is give Kieran McKenna a new contract straight away. Do you agree with that, Phil?
Yes, I do.
What would you 100%. Be giving him? What would you be giving Kieran McKenna?
Well, obviously the transfer kitty to go out and buy the players that we need to challenge for promotion next season to the Premier League. Because I was thinking about it early this afternoon in the sunshine. I was thinking it hasn't. I'm saying this promotion, as a more mature Town fan who's been around for X amount of years, this is a different kind of challenge that we've had to overcome. That we're celebrating the success in this era that we haven't had success for so long. To me, I would say we shouldn't really have been in this position in the first place. But the promotion and what the young fans have seen today has for them is absolutely magnificent, and it just reminds us us people that are a bit longer in the tooth that we've been starved of success for so long. I've almost forgotten what it feels like. So I'm kind of itching now to get back into the Premier League. I would say Norwich has had, how many promotions?
Phil's doing a marathon after doing a 4-mile walk. Like, slow it down, Phil. You can't wait to get back to the Premier League.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's like, let's get going. Sod the fixtures, just start next week, and we'll just get on with it. And
Phil's already bought a ticket for Anfield.
12 months from now, we'll be celebrating another promotion. That's it.
Somebody else has also said that in the chat. They've said that next year's overlay will have to say the Town are going up again. I'll pass that on to Mr. George Nunn, so he knows to get that ready and waiting, because Phil's already there, ladies and gentlemen. Phil's already in Anfield. He's already at the Emirates. He's already at the Empty Had. He's already at all these places buying his first pint. You're well and truly drinking that summer Kool-Aid, Phil. And I absolutely love it and appreciate it. Before I let you go, I asked Steve about a F1 team. Was he optimistic, pessimistic, or neutral? Before I let you go, George is waiting. Don't really go anywhere though, Phil, because if George disappears, you're going to be my knight in shining armor tonight. Are you optimistic, pessimistic, or neutral about the upcoming season's chances? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to.
I'm feeling optimistic right now. I think for me, this promotion, I'm still riding that promotion wave. I still feel generally good inside. I'm looking forward to the new signings coming in. I don't know who we're going to sign permanently, but if Frank and his source within the club are correct, and that we have made a substantial bid for Mr. Jerry Yates of Blackpool, a 14-goal season that he's just enjoyed, then I think a guy who can score many goals in Championship at that level, that is somebody who we need, and I'd be encouraged by it. And I hope that that particular rumour that he's mentioned is true, because I think that less than 3 million, I think that he would be a decent signing for us next season.
Perfect, Phil. I'll hopefully speak to you later, but don't go anywhere really, because I might need you very shortly. But I appreciate you coming on here, Frank. If you've got some knowledge, my friend, drop it in the chat, because we'd love to hear it. We'd love to discuss it. George, welcome back. We're in your absence with a $9.99 super sticker from Mike Baker. So if I didn't say it at the time, Mike, truly appreciate that. Thank you very much. It was Hearts, by the way, George, that gave you the little tidbit there of next year's title. Town are going up again.
Yeah, we can get on that. I'll do it so that it doesn't cover over the thing in the background. Though. Go on.
How did you feel on Phil's sprint before he could crawl? He's in the Premier League already, as I feel.
I think I agree with Segway, Mr. Parkin, in that it will depend entirely on our business.
Well, it certainly will. Eddie loves Phil's interviews, especially Chris Kamara pressing live from Portman Road. That was always a highlight. That was a highlight of the season for sure. And Lee said we don't talk about Plymouth enough. I think just by saying their name once, we talk about them too often. But there we go.
Why about Plymouth?
I don't know. I asked in the chat who you were. Anyway, pre-season, George. Only one fixture been announced so far, but we have got one to discuss. It is Austria. It's a team called, bear with, because I struggle with Lee Smith as a pronunciation, so this might go horribly wrong. Slovakian side Spartak Trnava in a friendly during their pre-season trip to Austria. I'm not going to ask you about the tie because I don't know anything about them. I'm going to go ahead and assume you don't. But with pre-season these days, there's always two trains of thought: the new mentality and the traditional. I won't call it old school. Traditional mentality. And George is frozen on me, and I'm really getting nervous whenever time George blinks longer than 3 seconds, because it means he stopped. Are you there, Mr. George? No, I'm going to bring back Phil Blundell. I'll bring back Phil Blundell. Phil, I'll ask you. This is like celebrity stares. I can just go. I can just do right. So
I'm loving this.
Just choose who I want to answer the question for me. Do you agree? I'll send you out then. What's your mentality of pre-season? Okay, because you've got the new school mentality where it's shorter games and the competition doesn't really matter. In fact, you get some Premier League teams that play each other for commercial reasons, but they play each other all the same. Whereas the more traditional mentality of a pre-season is you build up your opponent. So you start with, this level, and then you go boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. It's full 90 minutes. And you never play anybody within your own setup. You never play anybody within your own level because it's that mentality. It's that if they beat you, they then have that psychological edge on you, and you just don't do it. You don't see Liverpool, Man United in pre-season because it's just not done. Which school of thought do you sort of put yourself into?
I think I would be in the former camp that you just mentioned. I think for me, it's really just about the players getting fitness and, the format that they play the games in, whether it be, 60 minutes, 70, 75 minutes. I guess that they'd be playing those types of games just to gradually build up fitness. I don't think right now we're at a stage where we'd be in a position to even play sort of the big Premier League clubs because, like you said, their pre-seasons is about going to faraway places like, Australia, America, Asia. And to them, it's more about raising their commercial profile overseas.
Yeah, sure.
Unless you're Wrexham, that's already kind of arranged a pre-season friendly with one of those clubs, then those big six aren't going to be concentrating on playing friendlies, say, against, say, Leyton Orient and Northampton and Accrington Stanley.
But would you ever consider, for commercial or any other reason, an Ipswich Town Norwich pre-season friendly? Like, not that such a thing could ever probably exist, but all right, I'll change it. Not a Norwich, an Ipswich Town versus a West Brom, same division, or would you be more of a traditionalist where you're thinking that's the same league? You don't want to be playing pre-season against teams in your same league.
I would say we could. We could.
No, we could. But what do you belong to? What's your mentality? If you were building the pre-season blocks,
I think somebody who, for me, I miss that marquee, final pre-season home game at Portman Road against either a Premier League or maybe a good, maybe top league European side comes forward. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that, but
Lazio.
it's not going to happen this preseason, obviously, because of the renovation to the pitch. But
Phil, when it was proposed, I was like,
Yeah, I'm still waiting
Yeah,
for it, mate. I'm still waiting for it, but I don't think it's going to happen. You know,
I didn't have hair on my chin when it was first proposed. All right, fair play. Broadhead in the Wales training camp. Why are they doing training camps in the summer? I'm not a big fan of this, Phil. I like the fact he's gone with Wales, but I don't like the fact my players are still playing in late May.
I think we can point the finger at FIFA and probably UEFA at this, because you know it's how the football calendar has fallen. Strictly speaking, you know, the football season hasn't finished yet, and I'm gonna say there is one more Premier League game to come this coming weekend. But I mean, so we've seen internationals played in June and then again September. I'm gonna say it's not uncommon now that they are having, you know, sort of international camps like this after the last league game of the season. So
it's nonsense, don't it? Really?
It's daft. It's sort of, you know, not really needed at this time of year. But I mean, so that's UEFA and FIFA for you. So and it's also probably these dates in the calendar nowadays is kind of sort of dictated by, you know, the top 10 Premier League clubs saying that we don't want our players going away and we don't want our play, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So Ben Adams, Milk Train Man, he loves a car analogy, and I've just thought of one while you were talking there, Phil. You know, if this was a car, you're needlessly putting more miles on the clock than you have to, and the more miles you drive, the more chance of a puncture, and more chance of a serious collision, and more chance of wear and tear. And this is not just a Nathan Broadhead thing. This is a collective players thing. I don't want any you're putting on your body.
I don't want any of our top players coming back, you know, with a niggling hamstring or a calf injury or, you know, an ankle injury that might take a month or two to clear up. But we just have to grin and bear it, don't we? And say we're not the powers that be. We just have to sort of get on with it and just keep fingers crossed. I think I'm saying right now we're still in May, so I think strictly speaking, it's not horrendously bad that, you know, some international players like Broadhead and I'm gonna say Burns still at the moment, but I'm gonna say it's not too much to ask them, you know, to spend maybe one more, you know, camp away with their national team, you know, before June. Okay. These players don't get much, you know, don't get many weeks to go on holiday with their families. They get maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and even then they have to sort of watch what they eat and you know, stay fit in that time.
Oh yeah, longer on the days to come back 4 stone overweight after, you know, curry and beer every night through the summer, which is my diet, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, at home at the moment. Every time I'm not on a show, it's just a curry and a beer. Although tonight was a Krispy Kreme donut. So, you know, keto's out of the window. Anyway, moving it swiftly on, there's comments in the comment section from our live audience about the Hospital Cup. I'm not actually that old to know what that truly was, so I'm sitting here a bit smug. But we're going to get into our squad review with you, Phil. You had no preparation for this, so this is going to be absolutely fantastic because you're the knowledgeable guy. So do stick with me, Phil, because George hasn't come back. This is where I'm going to ask you who would stay, who would go, and if you at the end you've got any transfer targets, do please bring them to the party, and then I'll put them to Hard Truth on Sunday's show. But we'll start with the right wing position. Wesley Burns is the current number 1 there. Caden Jackson's the number 2. Caden Jackson's got another year on his contract. Are you keeping both? Are you happy with both as your right wingers for the next 12 months, longer? How do you see that right wing position there, Phil?
I think for me, because Jackson's got a year left on his contract, I'm saying I think it's unlikely that McKenna will go out and get himself. I say it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, say looking at those attacking potential transfers. I mean, say I guess you wouldn't rule out McKenna going for a right-sided attacking player that maybe can play in a central position as well. I mean, say can Jerry Yates play on the right-hand side? If so, that would, you know, push Jackson down the pecking order. I think
I'm selling Caden Jackson, by the way.
You're selling him.
I'm selling him. Yeah. If this is the war room, and we're in Mark Ashton's war room, and they're sat at the table and they want my opinion, I'm looking to sell Caden. I love him to pieces. I've been his biggest supporter on the platform since we started it. I'm looking to sell Caden, and I'm looking to bring in somebody who's going to really push Wesley Burns. you know, with the eventuality that the best man wins that shirt. Wes starts it because he's got the shirt at the moment, but I'm looking to bring somebody in who really pushes Wes every step of the way, and yeah, for me, that's what I would do with that right wing position there, Phil.
I think right now, because he's got a year left on, I think that there is just enough competition for Burns. I'm going to say Jackson, we know, is not as good as, but Burns is, nailed on first choice, right hand side attacker for us that will start pretty much nearly every game if he's fit. Say going into a fresh championship season, is Jackson good enough? Do we stick with him? It's just one of those great. I would say he's not the absolute top priority. That position's not the absolutely top priority for me. I think for me, providing good competition for Fred up top is more of a priority. If we don't manage to secure her, I would absolutely love to see her.
We'll get to that in a bit. We'll get to the strikers in a moment. They're on the list.
It's a difficult one. I'm not as pessimistic or downbeat or not afraid to play Jackson if I have to on that right hand side.
Well, yeah, I've been his biggest supporter for the platform. I just don't think. I would like to see, as the chat mentioned him, Raksaki being linked with him, phenomenal player, good talent. That, yeah, I think he would be particularly for me. But okay, we've got that lined up. We've got €5 from David. Thanks, David. Appreciate that, Paul. Don't think Jackson is championship quality, but McKenna obviously rates him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he stays. You know what? I've done this platform for the last 3 years, and every season people have said Caden Jackson's got to go, and he's still here, and he's a credit to himself and a credit to the football club for how hard he works and what he brings to the party. I
think for me, I'm just trying to recall, what McKenna said to Jackson, 12 months ago, last pre-season. I feel as though that his work, his advice to him was actually quite positive and quite generous and quite kind. And to me, I just want to see us sort of prioritize 2 or 3 other key positions first, and then let's see how much money we've got.
Okay. All right. So let's
bring in another right.
Well, we've got plenty of money, Phil. And this is not. This isn't. You ain't ever going to be factually correct as a football fan because you're not in that actual room with them. So it's purely what you think, what you feel. And for me,
I think for me, I would like to see us hold on to Jackson for the time being.
Okay. All right. Give him that year to see what he can do. Move to the left-hand side. You've got Carl Edwards, Nathan Broadhead, and Tyrese John George, which was on loan. Obviously, TJJ's gone back. So we'll start with Carl Edwards. 1 year left on his deal. Almost a make it or break it year then in that sense, because you've got that year to showcase, but he's not the starter. Nathan Broadhead is. What are you doing that left side? They're your current, or were your current 3. Edwards and Broadhead on the contract. Are you the same as the right? You're happy with that 1-2 punch, Edwards and Broadhead?
I think the left-hand side for any team is obviously a bit more difficult to recruit for because there's not as many left-sided, left-footed attacking players that would probably match what McKenna's looking for. I think for me, Edwards is just really more of an impact player from the bench. So, I think the left-hand sided for me would be more of a priority than the right-hand side. Again, Broadhead nailed on, starter pretty much every game. But like you said, we do need somebody to come in and, provide that competition for him. Yeah.
Carl Edwards is I love his character. I love him. But again, I kind of put him in the same sort of bracket as KJ. Is he going to be really good enough to meaningful contribution in the championship? Because it's such an unknown with what he did in League One. He had flashes, he had moments, he had brilliance, but he also had some development curves. I would say loan, like I did last year, but that 1 year left on his deal, you've got a potential where you loan him. And if he doesn't sign a new contract before he leaves, you could then obviously let a player who then flourishes somewhere else on loan walk on a free. Zurich says, can you see Edwards or Harness being good in the championship if Brody gets a long injury? Got to remember he's injury prone, which is a great point, which is where I'd be bringing sort of a left winger in. So for me, Phil, both sides are priorities 2 and 3. In the sense of of where I'm ranking them. TJJ, I've gone on record. If we were a League One football club, I'd have brought him back, but we're not now. We're a Championship, so I wouldn't be looking to bring back TJJ. Where are you on John Jules?
I would say again. Look, he's picked up a couple of pretty bad injuries that's kept him out of this second half of the season for us. And at his age, that's really not a good thing to be having at such a young age. 21, 22. That's not a good thing to sort of endure. I guess my last word on Edwards and KJ is that they're not really goal scorers. They're not players that would be able to get goals for us in the Championship. But it's just one of those things that they have a year left on a deal. So I don't know whether they go out on loan or not. But it's just one of those. I'm saying it's just waiting to see who McKenna brings in. But I think on TJJ, I think I agree with you. I can't really see him coming back, especially if it is reported. If there are one or two rumours saying that we have made a substantial bid for, another Championship goal scorer, then I can't really see there being much room for TJJ, unfortunately.
Okay, moving into the we'll do the central midfield players last. So we'll start with the central attacking midfield players, the cams. You've got Marcus Harness, Connor Chaplin, and Shawnee Aluko. Connor Chaplin, fantastic season. He's the incumbent position. So let's start with Marcus Harness. Marcus Harness, what are you sort of doing with Harness, who started the season so well, had that injury, it took a while to recover. I've got in brackets. I've written Aluko brackets. I've written the words "what the fuck." There's clearly my thoughts on the contract extension. So Harness, first of all, are you keeping him? Are you looking to move him on?
For me, I think I'd be looking to move him on because I'm saying when he came in, when he did, I was thinking he would probably get us at least 10 league goals. In the league, and he's only managed 7 in total.
Yeah, I'll get some stats from him in a second. Yeah.
That's really not good. I'm saying if he'd just achieved half of what Connor Chaplin did last season, then I'd be inclined to think maybe just hold on to him a little while. But I think for me, it's probably one just maybe to move on elsewhere. I think. Yeah,
27 total games played in 40, 21 starts, 6 goals, 2 assists, 5 big chances created.
So this is the Championship, mate. This is not the lower leagues now. This is a step up, and I can't really see, if we do hold on to him, I can see him getting maybe 3 or 4 goals with the game time it's had, but he's just too inconsistent. We need players now really that will consistently perform, that will help the team achieve a higher league position, hopefully within the playoff places next season. And I just don't think Harness has got enough of the right stuff, enough consistency in him to maintain that push for us, I'm afraid.
See, the Aluko extension, we won't go into too much detail. We covered it last night. It's just that is it's causing a little bit of an issue in my mind because obviously I'm looking at the numbers and I'm thinking you've got Harness, Chaplin, Aluko, and that sort of cam. You've got other players that can play there in the occasional 1 game, 2 game needed category. But I'm just going to remove Aluko for a minute and put him in the Richard Keogh experienced. If he gets minutes, it's in a cup game, or it's in the dying embers, or it's oh my god, we've got an emergency of injury crisis. I'm looking to bring in a central attacking midfield player. I'm looking because I just look at those front 3 positions there, and you could include Kamara, but I'll put him as a central midfield player. But you could include him in there as well. But I'm looking at those 3 positions there, Phil. That right wing, left wing, central attacking midfielder. The 3 that hold the shirt are fantastic players. But if 1 or 2 go down injured, suspension, injury, the depth is a little bit. Can it make it? Just 1 too many question marks for me.
I think the recurring theme here is with all the attacking players, it's the players that are picking up recurring injuries are the ones more likely to be moved on. And sadly, that includes Kamara because, he had a groin injury when he came. He had an operation then to correct his groin, and he still hasn't. I don't think he's played a single first team minute since he's come into the club.
Yeah.
And I'm worried for him. I have to say that I'm worried for him. But when you look at the players that have been fit and have started and contributed quite well, have been Connor Chaplin, Sam Morsey, Mass, Humphreys. There's 4 players that I would say, likes of Lee Evans, recurring injury from last year.
Yeah. So would you bring a Cam in as well? Would you be looking to bring a central attacking midfield player?
I would imagine that on McKenna's shortlist is another central attacking player that he would be looking to bring in. Yes, definitely.
Perfect. Got to give the boys on Sunday something to get their teeth into. Going to bring in Frank as we look at the central forwards at the moment. Phil, just take a 30-second break. I'll come back to you just a second. Frank, are you well, my man?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Gov. Enjoying the show, as always.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I really do. Reviewing some of the positions in our attacking areas. You mentioned Jerry Yates there. I won't ask you to nail down your information and tell us where you got it from, etc. But Jerry Yates, properly from Blackpool, will say 2.5 million. Is that a player that interests you, Frank, as a fan? Is he a player that you would have identified?
Not really, actually, to be honest, Gov. But if you look at his goal scoring record for a team that were relegated, he scored 14 goals and made 4 assists, which is pretty impressive. I think. Is it Phil, the other guy that was on?
Yeah.
He alluded to the fact that I mentioned it, and it was from this mole, for want of a better way of describing him, and I certainly wouldn't mention his name. He has been fairly reliable in the past, and I remember when Connor Wickham was due to leave, he not only told me he was due to leave, he gave me he told me what the transfer fee would be. So he is, when he comes up with the goods, it's normally fairly reliable. He hasn't let me down so far. Touch wood, as we say in the Netherlands.
Yeah, touch wood. All right, it's Jerry. Yeah. So looking at the strikers, Frank, you've got Piggott, who's been out on loan, 1 year left on his deal. Hadme. Are you keeping either of those? Both of those? Are you letting both of those go? Where are you on both of those players?
I would let both of those go, to be honest. I think it would be a very interesting debate if we discussed the Ipswich Town squad generally and the players be good enough for the Championship. And I think you're probably talking about 6 players that are really top notch that would hold their own in the Championship, and about another 6, maybe 8, who could play some of the games until there were reinforcements involved. I mean, that's my view. I mean,
what are those 6? Give me those 6, and on Sunday show I'll put it to the hard truth boys, and then they can give us their opinion on it.
Christian Walton, obviously, he would be number 1. Wes Burns, Connor Chaplin, Nathan Broadhead. I think also, if we're talking about the midfield, then Sam Morsey, I think he's still good enough. And I think Massimo Luongo, now that he's probably going to sign a new contract, I think he's got something to prove because of the way Middlesbrough treated him. He never even played a first-team game in the Championship with Middlesbrough. So he would be another one. And if we got George Hurst back, of course, then he would be included in that. There may be others, but they're the ones that jump out for me.
Perfect. Talking of George Hurst, obviously you let him, Joe Piggott and Gaston Hadme depart the club if you had any say in it. You looking to really push and bring back George Hurst then, Frank, if you had
Yes. I think he's well good enough for the Championship. Yeah. I wouldn't hesitate with George Hurst. And he's young, he doesn't seem to succumb to too many injuries. He's eager. He's technically very good, a bit like his father, David Hurst. And I'd love to see him come back. And I think he would love to come back. A lot depends on what Leicester do with that one.
Yeah, and what would your valuation be on that player? If you this is all about putting ourselves into that fantasy war room with Mark Ashton. If you had to say to Mark, look, this is what I believe the player's worth, what are you sort of putting the valuation on?
Well, now in the Championship, obviously everything's evaluated more highly. So I would say that, and Leicester, because of their financial difficulties, they would be looking for at least, I think, 2.5 to 3 million at least, and maybe more. I think we could afford it, by the way. I think it's
absolutely,
a gambit,
And lastly, got 2 more questions for you, Frank, before I let you go and bring Phil back. Fred Ladapo, 20 goals this year, didn't obviously play as heavily as he did when he was until George Hurst arrived. Would you be keeping him in the squad? I imagine you probably would be, but you wouldn't be letting him go, would you?
No, I wouldn't be letting him go. He's a good impact player. I've said many times this last season that he seems to perform better when he comes on for the last 20 minutes than when he stops. And in that respect, if he's patient enough and can tolerate that sort of environment, then I would keep him with that in mind. Yeah, because technically he's quite good. And on his day, he can be very good. Your glasses are the wrong way round. I just spotted that. I thought it was a screen. And the other.
Go on.
Oh, and sorry. What was the other question?
You said 6 players:
Right.
Walton, Burns, Chaplin, Broadhead, Morsey, and Luongo, and George Hurst if we signed him, so 7.
Yeah.
No Leif Davis. You don't think Leif Davis is good enough to Championship, or you missed him out by accident? Where are you on Leif? Because some people in the chat have obviously asked that question.
Yeah, no, it's a valid one. Leif Davis. I was looking through the midfield and the attack and the goalkeeper, and I overlooked Leif Davis. But having said that, Leif Davis, when he came to the club, I think he was valued at $1.5 million, wasn't he? He's still got a lot to learn. I think he's good enough as a squad player, but I think we may need somebody a little bit more accomplished or experienced in that department when we get into the Championship. That's just my view, but other people will have different opinions on that. What's your view, by the way, on that one?
I think Leif Davis is the best player that ever played football. Lovely. Love Leif Davis. No, I think he'll be good enough for the Championship without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
I don't think he'll heavily create as much as he did in League One. I just don't see him replicating that. If he does, I will be absolutely in 7th heaven. But I wouldn't disagree with the other players you've mentioned in terms of them being Championship ready. And what we're discovering as we go through this squad list, both from front to back, is a lot of unknowns, a lot of question marks, a lot of, if our main players, those 6, 7, 8 players, are playing every week, we'll be a great team. Get a couple of injuries, get unlucky with a couple of things. You've got some unknowns. You've got some question mark players coming in, which could go one or two ways. They could be really good and say, wow, we've now got a couple of players that are pushing, or you're really struggling for goals or assists because you've got that learning curve going on. And it's going to be an interesting one. But
to say though, I will confess to the fact that I had forgotten about Leif Davis. Don't know why, because he has been very, very good. And then I thought to myself, well, he does.
Because you're a human being, Frank. Because you're a human being. We all forget things, but that's why I'm here to pick up on the little things. I'll be honest, I didn't. Zero did.
Harry Clark, he wouldn't be at this stage. He's not quite up to it. He's got a lot of energy. But I don't think he's quite there yet. I think we definitely need another wing back. So Leif Davis, leave him where he is. But Harry Clark is, I know he's a local lad, so we all want him to succeed. But I don't think he's quite there yet, in my opinion.
Perfect. Frank, a pleasure as always. You look after yourself, all right? And have a great evening. Carry on listening to the show. Phil, welcome back. Ben Moore says, Hurst, 2 good years in League One. I ain't be putting my hopes on him to bag a lot. However, our system suits him more than what we had at Blackburn. Frank will be buying in for 2.5 to 3. Quick word before we go to the midfield players. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I mean, I would make Hurst a priority signing. Look, players of that caliber who are young and upcoming, depending on where these players end up and what systems they play in, I think for me, I've seen more than enough of Hurst that he slots into our system very well. And I think that he's given enough freedom there in that role to go about, and obviously he scored the goals that he did, and I would make him a priority signing. I probably wouldn't pay more than 4 million for him. Okay. I think that for a top, I'm saying you're looking at League One, and it's a low, the lower league. You wouldn't be looking at more than about £4 million to sign a player who's scored goals at the level, because he's unproven at the Championship level, and the 5 million that Leicester asked Blackburn for early this season, I think a bit unrealistic, maybe.
Yeah. I'm with Frank's valuation, 2.5 to 3. I do think there'll be a deal between 1.5 and 2.5. A deal to be had, not that the deal's in place, that a deal to be had. And I'll be surprised if it's astronomically away from that. Talking about astronomical things, central midfield and Ipswich Town Football Club. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 central midfield players at the football club, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those having 1 year left on their deal, and one of them having just been given new terms. He hasn't signed yet, but I would expect him to, so I don't no reason to think he won't sign them. So I'll try and start with the players that have been out on loan. They're coming back, Phil. You're the decision maker. You're in the war room. You get to say, are they a part of the squad, or are they being allowed back out on loan, or are they being sold because they've got a year left on their deal? So we'll start with my man, Raheem the Dream. Raheem Harper, signed for nearly £1 million, got 1 year left, been out on loan a couple of times. What are you doing with Raheem, Phil?
Loan again. Send him out on loan.
Yeah. Are you signing him to a new deal before you're sending him out on loan, or are you risking that? No. Okay, you're just sending him out on loan.
It's all I'm saying. I'm saying £1 million for a player that we're now in the Championship for is not really much. I'm saying it's still £1 million. It's still a lot of money but we've got a big enough budget as it is. So, I'm gonna say for me, I think the likelihood is that I can't see him sticking around the first team squad this coming campaign unless we get some horrific injuries that that he needs to be recalled and we just kind of throw him in as a make the numbers up kind of thing. But for me, I really can't. I think you could probably almost place Raheem the Dream in the same situation as Joe Pigott. Unfortunately, I can't. Really
I'll go with you, Phil, because I was going to sell Raheem. If you're going to loan him, and there's still a chance that the Dream can continue at Portman.
You never know. You never know. If we loan him out, say to a top League One club, and he has a great solid season, then there's every chance of us, giving him another contract. But right now, I think he's quite distanced away from, what we require at this present moment in time going forward.
I just wonder who's going to win the Gov Player of the Year award in pre-season that I've got, because that's where he crowned his Player of the Year performance against Millwall. So who's going to take it this year? I wonder. Let's build on that one. Idris El Mazzani, obviously a loan at Leyton Orient, on his way back. Got 1 year left on his deal. Are you keeping him as part of the football club? Are you moving him on? Are you selling him while that value is there? Even at one club, that value is there with 1 year left on his deal. What are you doing with Idris?
Loan again. I'll loan him out.
Loan with it. Are you signing him to a new deal, or same as Harper? You just loan him with the risk that you could lose him. But
I'm saying, look, the thing about loaning players out is that I think for a player like Harper and El Mazzuni is realistically, how many minutes do you think they're going to get this season in the league with us in the Championship? Probably very few, next to no minutes almost. So there's no point them hanging around the training ground not doing anything. You want to loan them back out for their own personal future development, to get the football in them, regardless of 1 year left on their current deals. I think for them as a personal development, they need the football. So I'd loan them both back out again.
Okay. Let's go to a player we brought in. 1 year left on his deal. Dominic Ball has some injury issues. Are you keeping him or moving Dominic Ball?
Keeping him
on.
You're keeping him. We're now allowed 25 first team players as opposed to 22. So yeah, he stays for me.
Okay. We're down now to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 central midfield players, 6 with Dom Ball. Cameron Humphreys, are you loaning him out, keeping him a part of the squad? Where are you on the boy wonder?
This one's more difficult than the previous two, simply because, he's shown that he can compete, at the level that, we're going to be at. But if we bring one or two more central midfielders, do we stick or do we twist? I think probably the likelihood for me is I'd send him out on loan to a top League One club. I can't imagine him going out on loan to another Championship club. I don't think McKenna would allow that.
You see, whereas you would loan out Idris and Harper, I would look to sell both of those players. As much as I love Raheem, because Elmiz's value is high, 1 year left in his deal, I'd sell him while you've got arguably the hottest market for him. And Raheem, it's just not worked out. 1 year left. For me, it's very heavy to say it, but it's time to sort of close that chapter. With Cameron, I'd be loaning Cameron out. I'd be loaning him to a Championship side inside the top 8. With the expectation he goes and plays, the expectation he competes and plays, you know, all the things you'd normally expect from a lone player. But I just, whereas like Carl Edwards, for example, huge question mark. I still don't know really what we've got with Kyle. Like, you know, is he going to be this fantastic player? Is he going to be an impact player? And I just feel, and I said this last year about Carl Edwards, we don't know it because he's never gone out on loan to really put it all together. And I feel Cameron needs to play football. I feel Cameron needs to play football games, and he needs to play inside that top 8 League One. If I said Championship, apologies, top 8 League One sides, and put it together. Have the highs, have the lows, have the roller coaster development that young players go through, like Wolfenden has gone through, that all young players go through. Because he's not going to do that sat on the bench, sat in the stands at Portman Road. That's my feeling on Cameron, Phil. No, you know.
I guess I'm gonna say with Cameron, you know, I've been impressed with what he's done for us this season, and I think that there's half of me thinks that he should be given a crack at the Championship, and half of me thinks.
But it's also a numbers game, Phil. Like,
it is.
Okay, let's park Cameron. Let's park Cameron for a minute, right?
Cameron's a bit of a question mark at the moment for me.
I'll put Cameron over here. We'll come back to you, Cameron. Kamara. What are you doing with Kamara? Obviously, arrived, great reputation, arrived injured, hasn't played a few minutes, but hasn't played for all intents and purposes. Are you keeping him a part of the squad? Are you selling him, loaning him? Where are you with Kamara?
I think for me, I mean, say I would give him one last chance to see if he can get through the pre-season games, if he can get minutes in him.
Okay, so you're keeping him a part of the squad.
I would keep him part of the squad. But if he breaks down again pre-season, then I'd be thinking about possibly moving him on. Maybe, I don't know, maybe as early as January, for example. Because if he is injury prone, and the amount of money that obviously we're paying his wages, and he's not playing, so there's no real point keeping him, you know, within the squad.
Okay, so that's 2 midfield players you're keeping, which leaves Luongo as the third. Sam Morsey, 1 year left on his deal, but I imagine you're going to sign him to a new deal and keep Sam Morsey around the football squad. I'm just going to go ahead and go on a limb and say that's what you're going to do.
I think with saying when you look at Morsey and Luongo, there's probably, I think there's the 2 or 3 players in the current squad that are over 30 years of age, and I think when we get to it, because I want to answer that Aluko question. I'm scratching my head over as to why Aluko was offered another deal. But for me, because there's so few players over the age of 30, I would suspect that McKenna has offered him that one deal because he would probably then fill a role that Keogh is leaving behind. So then Aluko now becomes that top elder statesman with the experience, with the character in his dressing room. And yes, I mean, yes, I know that he hasn't played for us for quite a while, you know, less than 50% of the games, and he has been injured for 2 or 3 months early in the season, which isn't a good thing, especially when you're over 30. I just feel, again, that he's one of those, the elder statesmen, that's why he's probably given the extra year contract, is what I think. Okay. But I mean, sorry, to answer your original question.
Yeah.
What was the original question?
Morsey, I imagine you're signing him to a new deal and keeping him around.
I think for me, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Given
so that's go on.
So between Morsey and Luongo, I think that's 4 down.
That is, Morsey, Luongo, Kamara, Dominic Ball. So that's 4 midfield players for 2 positions you've now got.
Yep.
Lee Evans finished the last 2 seasons injured. What are you doing? He's got 1 year left on his deal. What are you doing in regards to Lee? Keeping him around?
I think I'll be looking to sell him.
Okay.
I mean, say at 28, still a good age. He can perform in League One. Yes, I know that he's had a better season this time round for us, but he's got that recurring injury, you know, with him that curtails the amount of games that he can play. With 1 year left on his, I'd be looking to transfer list him to recoup, because you know he can still do it in League One. 28, you know, top age, and I'm sure that he'd be better suited to, you know, another club elsewhere. But I can't really see him, you know, providing us with the key moments and the key passes and the key assists for a serious promotion push towards the Premier League, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm with you on Lee Evans. Finished the last 2 seasons injured. I'd be looking, particularly that last year of his deal now to move him on. Kamara, I'd be looking to move on as well. Injury, I don't know the player. I don't know what we're going to get out of the player. I'm just looking at the pure numbers game, and I'm thinking Jack Taylor's waiting in the wings. They've gone in for him once. I can't imagine they saw anything in the playoffs that scared them off. In the first leg, he was tremendous. The second leg, the whole team played like a deer that had been caught in headlights. I can't blame him for any of that second leg. But for the first leg, he's run the show. Sky want to go on about Barry Bannon. There was one midfield player in that first leg, and his name was Jack Taylor. I can't imagine they're being deterred by anything they've seen. His stats are great. So if you are bringing a Jack Taylor in, that's where my issue with Kamara sort of staying around, because it's the
totally
numbers
agree.
game.
Yes,
it's the numbers, isn't it?
Totally agree with that. Yes, and now I can see the logic behind it. It's just a bit strange that we kind of, we're talking about sort of potentially retaining these players, but half these players they've picked up, sort of fairly longish injuries, and you just think to yourself, can they step up and then play at least maybe 40 league games this current campaign? And the answer is probably not. No.
To the required standard. And I'm talking purely as a football fan that doesn't know much about Pantas Kamara. Kamara might be a fan. He might come on, play, be the next Lionel Messi, and I might sit here and eat my hat and say I was terrible, like George Hurst, like I was at George Hurst. I was terribly wrong. I'm terribly sorry. I love you very dearly. But right now, their names on a bit of paper, and I'm just looking at the numbers, and I'm thinking, I've got 2 positions and about 44 midfield players, and it's just...
That's right, yeah.
It's like the Rubik's Cubes in primary school. As much as I want to smash them into place, I can't quite make all of them fit. So someone's got to sort of go. Get a few comments before we come back to Cameron Humphreys. We've got Colin, hope you're well, hope you're doing well. We're all thinking of you. Kim McKenna loves Luco. And like I've hinted at before, he'll probably finish up as a coach at ITFC. The good doctor, Cam deserves the experience, and championship would be better for him. Must make sure we're not having to play him due to number available. If we loan him, might be better experience with us, though. Graham, Kamara was well missed when he joined town, thinking he's another chance to prove himself. Rob Dara said Taylor Lightloft this summer on his pod today, hopefully to town. The good doctor, Shawnee is great on commentary. It's a total separate thing. But I think his technical now might shine better in the championship. He's a great one to have around. Being frank, gone for the championship. Marcus Hines, Lee Evans, Gaston Hadme, Raheem Harper, and Caden Jackson to name but 5. James says, can see Plymouth after Kamara are opening us up to buy Taylor. Good shout. And I like this one earlier from Norman. Could Humphreys be loaned to Peterborough as part of the deal for Taylor? Coming back to Humphreys there. I like that idea. That Norman's logic there is my sort of logic, because Peterborough love young players. He's a midfield player. I like the logic there, Norman.
Yeah, I think I didn't see that one come. Norman, that's genius, really. I mean, say Peterborough would never allow one of their better players to join another promotion rival. We're now in the championship. They'll be spending another season in League One. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, that's the way you use leverage when wheeling and dealing in this league. Humphreys, to Peterborough for a season as part of the, that would sweeten it. Yeah, absolutely. Norman's definitely onto something there. Yeah,
it's a lot like my Edmondson cash-in deal. Good. He's been listening, Norman. Love it. Anyway, Phil, I'm going to put you on the spot now. All right, we parked Cameron over there. You've got Sam Moore. So currently, your midfield looks like this: Sam Morsey, Massimo Luongo, Kamara, Dominic Ball. And are you signing Jack Taylor? Was that a yes or a no?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I mean, it's a player that obviously, we had to wait like 5-6 months for Hurst. We got him, and he did the biz for us. So, I trust McKenna. I trust McKenna's judgment. So far, most of his signings have been, what we've needed and a bit more. But yeah, I trust that one, and I think that hopefully we might sort out a deal for Taylor this summer.
So that gives you 5 midfield players there. So Cameron Humphreys would arguably be your CM6. With that knowledge, with that thinking, are you still keeping him within the squad, or are you loaning him out? Because you couldn't quite decide, but now you know the numbers.
Yeah.
Where are you on
I think I'll loan him out and say, who's to say that Norman's prediction might come true, that McKenna might use them as leverage to lure Taylor to town. And I'm say for me, Humphreys is 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, he's young.
Championship level. He's had such a good season for us in top of League One. Contributed very well for us.
19.
Scored when we needed to. That goal, Lincoln comes to mind. This timing was impeccable. Just to loan Humphreys out, definitely for me. For his further development, he's under the age of 21, so that's what I'm likely to do next season.
Joey would love Humphreys to go to Posh to play a similar style, would suit him. Rob, Posh meant to looking to play a younger team next season. Humphreys, right? Yeah, Norman is just come up with the comment of the century, because if I had to choose a club for Cameron to go on loan to anyway, it probably would have been a Peterborough. They're always challenging. There's expectation to challenge. They give young players an opportunity. They don't get scared off very easily in terms of playing young players and sticking by young players. Norman, it's almost like it's too good. It's too good that it's why it won't happen. But I like the thinking. That's where I would have put Cam on loan. But there we go. Season squad review part 3. So we've got a number of options for Hard Truth on Sunday, 7:45 p.m. live to look at. Myself and Matt will go through this. I'll present it to Matt, see what he says, see what targets he can come up with now that Phil has said he's looking at a right winger, would look at a left winger, would look at a central midfield player, would look for a striker, Hurst being one of them. We'll put those to him for part 4 of the squad review.
Just
Phil,
one more thing.
Have you got one more thing? Go for it.
One more thing. I know that you've already covered the goalkeeper and defenders, but I do have a soft spot for Greg Lee. I feel as though that when you look at
who hasn't,
I just feel when you look at him physically, he's a unit defensively. When he's played, he's always done a good job. He's always been at least a 7 out of 10 for us when he's played. And I think in the Championship, when you look at his physical presence, I think that we should hold on to him for this coming season, because Davis did spell a short period out injured and he came in for 2 or 3 games. And I think that Greg Lee can do a job for us in the Championship.
Perfect. Phil's one more thing. We love you, Phil. Thank you for standing in. I really do appreciate it.
Most welcome. Anytime.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. George, I hope you're okay wherever you are. I want to end by asking you all to hit the like button and subscribe. I want to end on Kieran's fantastic comment here. And it just says, can I just say a massive thank you for this channel and everyone behind the scene, because this channel has helped me massively with my mental health. So thank you. No, thank you, Kieran. I hope you're doing really well. But thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the Talking Town community. And that goes to yourself and everybody else. You make the shows what they are. We just sit here and talk about Ipswich Town, and you give us everything to do it. So thank you all. But until Sunday, 7:45, unless Town signs somebody, I mean, I'm not preempting anything there, but unless they sign somebody, we're done till Sunday, 7:45, and I'll see you then. With love, with care.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. Oh, yes, love. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Oh, yes, love. Oh, please, lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long